Hi everyone, welcome to part 2 of the Zodiac. In this video, I want to mainly discuss the Tropical Zodiac. Of course, there's also the Sidereal Zodiac, and there's other zodiacs out there as well. Basically, a zodiac is a way of dividing space. The Tropical Zodiac is a measurement of time relative to the sun's apparent motion around the Earth. So we're standing on Earth, space surrounds us. We see the planets and the stars and the other celestial bodies in the skies, in the heavens. And throughout the ages, we have projected our minds onto the heavens. Out of a desire to understand ourselves better, we have to know our environment. At a certain point, we wanted to locate those celestial bodies relative to our point of view. And so, math evolved, calculations were made. So we had to divide space. Now, where do we start measuring? That is the difference between the tropical and the sidereal zodiac. The tropical zodiac anchors the path of the sun to the earth, while the sidereal zodiac anchors the path of the sun to a fixed star. Hence the debate between, which one is the right zodiac to use for erecting horoscopes. Now, why the path of the sun? Because the ecliptic, the apparent path the sun makes around the earth, is the most stable, compared to the other planets. Now, the zodiac is an imaginary belt that extends approximately 8 degrees of celestial latitude on either side of the ecliptic. And this is to include the orbits of the other planets. Celestial latitude is the angular distance of a celestial body north or south from the ecliptic. Okay, so I'll just show you a picture here. It's not really clearly showing the tropical zodiac because we see the stars here, but you see the belt, and the ecliptic is running in the middle of that belt. Now, to make that a little more visual, this is a representation of the Earth. The center of the Earth is the equator. When we stretch the equator into space, this is what is called the celestial equator. Now, when the sun in her path traveling from the southern to the northern hemisphere crosses, intersects, rises over the celestial equator, this marks the beginning of the tropical zodiac. This marks 0 degrees of tropical Aries. And this is the time of the spring or the vernal equinox. Equinox derives from Latin, equus and nox. Equus means equal, nox means night. So the night and days are equal in length. Another way of looking at it is it's where the rotation axis of the Earth is perpendicular to the sun. This is where the equinoxes happen, because the Earth is tilted on her axis, right, 23.44 degrees, and so a perpendicular angle is a 90-degree angle, right, to the sun. Now, the interaction of the path of the sun with the path of the moon defines the marker points of the signs, right, because the zodiac is dividing the ecliptic in 12 equal parts. And so we're going to see where that comes from. So let's imagine the sun and the moon beginning from the same point. So this is the path of the sun. This is here the path of the moon. So whenever the moon revolves around the circle here and arrives back at its starting point, we're going to put a marker at where the sun is located. So moon is revolving one time, arrives back at its original point. The sun will have moved until this location here. So we put a marker point. Moon goes around this orbit here. We put another marker point, and so on. So it is the interaction of the path of the sun with the path of the moon in relation to the Earth that defines the signs. Of course, the circle is 360 degrees. The annual path of the sun is 365 and a little more. So we've slightly modified, right, to make it work. The sun rises over the celestial equator. It travels to the north, where it reaches its highest point relative to the equator. This marks 0 degrees Cancer and the beginning of summertime in the northern hemisphere and wintertime in the southern hemisphere. The sun then, this is an Ayana, right? This is a solstice. This is where the sun moves from north to south. Then the sun continues her path traveling south until it crosses the celestial equator again, and it's going to set below the equator, right? So at the time of that crossing, we have the autumnal equinox. Again, the days and nights are equal in length, and this marks 0 degrees of Libra. Then the sun travels south until it reaches its lowest point relative to the equator, and this marks 0 degrees of Capricorn, and this marks the winter solstice. And then it's gonna go from south to north, the solstice, right? And then it's gonna reach the vernal equinox again. So this tropical zodiac and the sidereal zodiac are fixed zodiacs. Now these 4 cardinal directions, east, north, west, and south, mark the seasons. And these are associated with certain elements. And this is derived from how the path of the sun relates to the center of the earth, the equator. So at the time of the vernal equinox, when the sun rises over the celestial equator, it becomes visible, right? The sun is fire, is light, the light of inspiration. And so we connect the east direction with the fire element. And of course, the first cardinal sign, Aries, becomes a fire sign. Okay, then the sun travels north, where it will reach its highest point relative to the equator. And of course, the north connects to the heavenly realms, right? The planets and the stars reside in the heavens, and they are all given names by gods and goddesses. The signs of the zodiac are all given names by earthly creatures. So the north is, the place of high accomplishment. That's why we associate the water sign, which is connected to spirituality and liberation, to the north. And thus, the cardinal or movable sign of Cancer becomes a water sign. Then the sun travels south, where it will reach the sign of Libra, and it will set under the celestial equator, which represents taking time off, rest, socialize. So the west direction is connected to the air element, and the cardinal or movable sign of Libra becomes an air sign. Then the sun travels more south until it reaches its lowest point relative to the equator, where it reaches the sign of Capricorn. The lowest point is connected to the earth. The earth is below our feet. And so the south direction is connected to the earth elements, and Capricorn becomes an earth sign. And then, of course, this pattern repeats throughout the zodiac. So we have always fire, earth, air, and water, right? So in Cancer, fire, Taurus, earth, Gemini, air, Cancer, water. Cancer, water. Leo, fire. Virgo, earth. Libra, air. And then from Libra we have air. Scorpio, water. Sagittarius, fire. Capricorn, earth. And from Capricorn, earth. Aquarius, air. And then Pisces, water. Back to Aries, which is fire. So we also have the modalities of the signs. And these are determined by how the sun moves from equinox to solstice and from solstice to equinox. The 4 cardinal points mark the seasons. So the cardinal points are the cardinal signs, the movable signs. They initiate a new beginning. That's why they are considered movable, right? It's like a new beginning, a new start. So the sun sets her course through the sign of Aries. Then it's going to stay fixed on its path through the sign of Taurus. The sun gets some momentum and it stays fixed. Not much is going to change in terms of, that season. Then the sun is going to enter the sign of Gemini, which is a dual sign, which is a combination of both movable and fixed. It's going to continue its path round up and announce a change of season, which happens then in Cancer, the next movable or cardinal sign. So here we have summertime in the northern hemisphere and wintertime in the southern hemisphere. So from there's a new beginning, right? The sun moves through that Cancer sign, then it becomes fixed again in the sign of Leo. Then the sun travels to the sign of Virgo, which is a dual sign. It completes its course. It announces again a change of season, which is happening in Libra. And of course, this signifies autumn for the northern hemisphere and spring for the southern hemisphere. And so it moves on to the sign of Scorpio, which is a fixed sign. There it stays fixed. It's going to enter the sign of Sagittarius, which is a dual sign. So it's going to again complete its course and then move to announce a change of season, which is going to be wintertime in the northern hemisphere and summertime in the southern hemisphere. The modalities are determined by how the sun moves from equinox to solstice, right? How it moves through the signs. Now, the constellations are not the signs. The constellations are a division of the ecliptic in relation to the stars. The zodiac is created by the rhythmic interaction between the path of the sun and the path of the moon in relation to the earth. There's 13 constellations along the ecliptic. They're all unequal in size. There's 12 zodiac signs, and they are all equal in size. Or they're all 30-degree portions of the circle. Now, this misunderstanding goes back to the 3rd century BC, when the Greeks named the constellations after the signs. And this was because they had lost precession of the equinoxes. So at that time, the sun was transiting those signs and they were overlapping. Of course, precession of the equinoxes shows that the stars are drifting against the vernal equinox, right? So the zodiac is a fixed zodiac. A lot of misunderstanding arose from that. The word zodiac, the etymology coming from Greek, zodiakos kuklos, which means circle of animals. The first written reference we have is in the writings from Aristotle of the word zodiac. This is 4th century BC. Now, the origin of the zodiac is generally associated with the rise of the Middle Eastern civilizations in Mesopotamia and Egypt. Of course, we know that the Greeks got their astrological information from Egypt. One of the oldest references we have of a division of the ecliptic in 12 parts is the Rig Veda. They say the 12-spoke wheel of the true, which is the sun, revolves around the heavens and never decays. The Babylonians already divided the ecliptic in 1000 BC. Tropical, the word comes from tropos, Greek, meaning to turn. Right? This is because of the sun rising over the equator and then setting. And so this makes it like this turning movement. So this is the movement that the sun makes in the heavens, the tropics, right, near the equator. Also interesting is that most astrological traditions have 12 signs. And also what is interesting is that in all zodiacal traditions, the signs go by the same name, which is very interesting and which suggests that we're dealing with a very ancient system. But there's a lot of things that we don't know. For example, Michael Rappengluck has done research in the caves of Lascaux, right? The Lascaux cave in France, in Montignac, where they found these mural paintings, right? One mural painting depicting a bull with some dot cluster above, which suggests the Pleiades. This painting dates back 16 to 17,000 years. So there's a lot of things that we don't know and which we probably never know because we just can't go back that far. I want to mention that I co-authored the book with Carmina Amza, Astrology Explained, Ancient Principles for the Modern Mind. Carmina Amza and myself are going to start a course, an initiation course, which is going to be 10 webinars on February 3rd. And so if you're interested, you can check it out on my website. Okay, for now, thanks for watching and talk to you soon. Bye.